What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Tavern Talk by Initial Reaction. I'm Philip, and this week, instead of reviewing the newest, biggest release of the week, we're going to talk about a couple different new releases and upcoming releases.
Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not rude. It doesn't boast. Love also forgets wrong.
So we talked about The Lighthouse, which was an A24 film that kind of was released, last month or a month or two ago. But I want to talk about another A24 release that is coming up. It is called Waves. This is from director Trey Edward Schultz, who made a little movie called Capricia in 2015, followed it up in 2017 with It Comes at Night. Those were both kind of operating in the horror genre. This Waves is not a horror film. This is very much a kind of family drama, if I had to describe it in any way. But this is another one like Parasite. I went into it without having any real idea as to what it would entail, and it's kind of best seen without having any prior knowledge of what the narrative contains. Due to nothing other than the fact that it doesn't adhere to a traditional 3-act structure. So to anticipate where the next scene might go without having any idea is really just a great way to experience this film. It stars Kelvin Harrison Jr., who was also in It Comes at Night, Taylor Russell of Escape Room, if you saw that earlier this year. It also has Sterling K. Brown from This Is Us and Lucas Hedges, who you've probably seen in a number of movies over the last couple of years. And while I don't want to spoil anything, I think I can say that the movie is very much a film told mostly through visuals, and Schultz has a very unique, very fluid approach to his visuals while setting a lot of those to music, to a soundtrack. It's very much kind of a visual poem in that sense. I love that I had no idea where it was going. I love the kind of themes about being at this intersection of innocence and like real experiences. And honestly, I'm trying to figure out how to describe it without giving it away, but this is really kind of an experimental film on the part of Schultz. Like, you can tell that he's trying to do something different, both technically and philosophically, and while they might not all land, it's easy to see that Schultz is shaping a kind of base to build his future films off of, and I can't help but think that one day he'll perfect this kind of style he's carving away at. I really enjoyed Waves. I don't know that I necessarily loved it. It definitely has a lot going for it, but like I said, it's something that Schultz is going to build upon in his future filmography, I think. For that reason, I'd probably give Waves 3.5 out of 5 if I had to give it a star rating. It opened in limited release a couple weeks ago, but it should be going wide in your area this weekend. So if you have an opportunity to see Waves on the big screen, check it out. All right, getting into some of the movies that have not yet been released. Let's first talk about Uncut Gems. Uncut Gems is the latest from the Safdie brothers, who directed Good Time with Robert Pattinson a couple years ago. So if you saw that, you kind of know their style and the type of movie they're really into making. The hook on this one is that it stars Adam Sandler in one of his more serious roles, not necessarily one of his broad comedies. But what's cool about Uncut Gems is that it's not a serious Adam Sandler movie in the vein of him being sad or depressed or just serious himself. There's still room for a lot of comedy here, and kind of Sandler's inherent charm is on display, just fully. So I just kind of have to say up front, I loved this movie. I loved Uncut Gems. It is. It just gets into it from the very beginning. It's one of those movies where it's effortlessly cool. It's just awesome. And if you aren't familiar with it, it kind of follows Sandler as this jeweler. He's in the jewelry district in Manhattan. He's addicted to gambling. He has all these kind of things going on. Like, he owns a jewelry store, and if someone sells him a watch, he'll go pawn it and use that cash to place bets on basketball games, for one reason or another, Kevin Garnett is a huge character in this movie. But he's also, trying to balance, like, he has a wife and a family, but he's also got this girlfriend who works at his jewelry store. And then kind of top it all off, the focus of the story is, it kind of zeroes in on this handful of days when Sandler's character, Howard Ratner, receives this giant opal that has been mined from the caves of Ethiopia. And for him, he's been told it's like worth untold amounts of money, so he's getting this shipped to him. He's going to auction it off. But Kevin Garnett is, for one reason or another, again, just wants this gem, wants this rock. And so it's kind of a crazy conceit. It's not anything that you would think all these elements would belong in the same movie together or in a movie in general. But the Safdie brothers have such a distinct style and energy. From like moment to moment, you can't help but be sucked into this world. And it really is just kind of a whirlwind of anxiety-inducing events that make you either want to like sit on the edge of your seat or get up and pace around. It is tense from the word go. You've probably heard a lot about Sandler in this one, and he brings it. He absolutely is worthy. His performance is worthy of the praise it's receiving. I wouldn't be surprised if he's nominated. I don't know if he'll win. It would kind of be awesome if he did, and if he does, he would rightly deserve it, because Uncut Gems, from scene one to the final credits, is amazing. I want to shout out to the composer. I'm not sure who it was, but the music in this is awesome. Just everything about this vibe, atmosphere, I loved it. So it will definitely be in my top 10 of the year. I'd have to go 5 out of 5 stars for Uncut Gems. I really, really loved it. So whether it's opening next week or on Christmas Day, definitely seek out Uncut Gems and see it on the big screen if you can.
You having a good time?
Yes.
All right, also opening next weekend is the latest from Clint Eastwood. It is called Richard Jewell, stars Paul Walter Hauser, who was great in I, Tonya. If you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. And he definitely deserves a headlining role like this, so excited to see what's contained. It also stars Olivia Wilde, Sam Rockwell, John Hamm, and Kathy Bates. It tells the story of the title character who was a security guard at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, but he is vilified by journalists and the press who falsely report that he was the terrorist who planted the bomb. Obviously, it's based on a true story. It's very much a Clint Eastwood movie in terms of aesthetic and pacing and overall energy. Kind of feels like it's lacking some of those, or just some energy in how it, in the production. But the story is so compelling, and Hauser, his central performance is so good that I would definitely recommend it. I'd say it's worth seeking out. Kind of the most fascinating thing about the character and the story is this idea that Jewell wanted so badly to be in law enforcement that no matter how bad the circumstances get for him, he can't help but to offer an explanation or defense of the actions of those who are trying to prove him guilty of this crime. It's as if he's more compassionate to their plight than his own, really. It's a portrait of a man so enamored with something that his obsession paints him into an incriminating corner. How Hauser plays with the perception and the character's own awareness of that perception is worth the price of admission alone. And also, Kathy Bates is pretty spectacular here as well. Once again, Richard Jewell opens next weekend, December 13th. So if you sounds appealing, you were alive when the true story happened, anything like that, I would definitely say check it out. I would go, 3.5 out of 5. So.
I'm working on a novel. It is a story of my life and my sister's.
Make it short and spicy. And if the main character is a girl, make sure she's married by the end.
Ow, Joe!
All right, next movie is Little Women. This is Greta Gerwig's Little Women. It opens on Christmas Day. This is kind of an interesting case because there's almost more excitement around this new version of this story for all the factors going into it more than there is for the final product. So you have Gerwig, who is following up Lady Bird with an adaptation of Louisa May Alcott's very famous, very well-regarded novel. And then on top of that, she's reuniting with Saoirse Ronan and Timothée Chalamet from Lady Bird, who were also in this. You throw in, the likes of Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, Laura Dern, Meryl Streep, Chris Cooper, Bob Odenkirk. There's seemingly any number of reasons why you should be excited to see this movie. I can recall the 1994 version of it strangely, I remember watching it over and over on VHS. We had a VHS copy of it, and I kind of remember being enamored with the characters and the lifestyle and kind of the inherent drama of it. But I don't really recall much of like the plot specifics of it, today. So there wasn't much in the way of anticipation going into Gerwig's adaptation. And coming out of it, there was just kind of this large feeling of indifference. Like, it's not bad. It's fine. But if I'm being honest, there was kind of a hope that more of Gerwig's specific voice would come through in this adaptation. I understand how difficult it probably is to try and insert your own voice into what is essentially a literary classic, but while much of this interpretation seems to have come in finding a new way to structure the lives of these young women, it overall kind of rests on its laurels of the great writing in the source material. That's fine. That's nothing to be upset about. This will undoubtedly introduce Little Women to a new generation. The book, Alcott's writing, but as far as a new modern interpretation of the text by a writer and a now director we know has a very distinct voice, I was a little disappointed in the final product of what Little Women is. That said, it comes out on Christmas Day. It's one of those movies that if you take the family or you take your mom, I think it will be a perfect, kind of, Christmas Day movie, Christmas Vacation movie, a good movie to see over Christmas Vacation. We won't get that confused. But it's kind of one of those comfort movies. It does have, like I said, the writing really from the original source material really helps here. But overall, Little Women was just kind of like, that was fine. So for that, I would give Little Women 3 out of 5. Again, it comes out on Christmas Day. Check it out if you're interested.
So, who does she marry?
All right, and the final movie we're going to talk about today is one called Just Mercy. It will also open on Christmas Day in limited release and then go wide on January 10th. This is the third film from director Destin Daniel Cretton. He also made Short Term 12 and The Glass Castle with Brie Larson. Brie Larson is also in this movie, but it also stars Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx. It is the story of a Harvard-educated lawyer named Brian Stevenson, who wrote the book that this movie is based on. And in the late 80s, early 90s, went to Alabama to defend the disenfranchised and wrongly condemned, including Walter McMillan, who Fox plays, a man who was sentenced to death despite evidence proving his innocence. So this is inevitably just going to be one of those kind of powerful films that touches on the indifference to inequality and justice within the justice system. What you're going in, what you're hoping from Just Mercy, or a movie like Just Mercy, is that it conveys the truth of the story and that what message it is trying to get out beyond, kind of the other factors like how good the acting is or how well the production is set and lit and the costumes and all these kind of extraneous factors. What you're really hoping a movie like Just Mercy does is kind of speak to you. And in that regard, it's a very good movie. It's a strong, sturdy courtroom drama in some senses, though it's not fully devoted to that genre, while at other times it's something of a harrowing character piece around Michael B. Jordan's Stevenson. Honestly, though, the performances are probably the least satisfying thing about the film. Jordan is appealing, as always, but he feels a little miscast here. Brie Larson really has nothing to do outside of function, for the plot and what purpose she needs to serve there. The performance that kind of stands out is Fox. He's this man who is unjustly accused of murder and put on death row, and who, instead of being angry, every moment of every day, he seems to believe he was put in this position for a reason, and he goes on to kind of help his fellow inmates on death row. And Fox, as McMillan, is kind of the only real fleshed out person in this film. Alongside, we should mention Rob Morgan, who plays a character named, or an inmate named Herbert Richardson, who's got some very, just devastating scenes. But, the direction of this, it does its job. There isn't too much flash to the proceedings. You can tell he's just trying to tell the story of this guy and just trying to send a message. And while some of the more obvious factors, falter, like the performances, the powerful message is kind of heard loud and clear. And it's one of those movies that, you can kind of just easily get behind. It's nicely done. The performances are fine, even if they're not insanely compelling. but it's a powerful movie, and I would definitely recommend going out and seeing it, whether, again, it be on Christmas or January 10th when it goes nationwide. If I had to give a star rating, again, I would probably go 3.5 to 4 on Just Mercy. I haven't really decided where I would fall on that one, and I may even see this one again and bring a few people to see it. So
I got my truth back. You gave that to me, and ain't nobody gonna take that from us.
all right, well, that is it for this week on Initial Reaction. Be sure to let us know in the comments if, when you see these movies, if you've seen any of them, what you thought, what you think has, strong chances in the Oscar race this year. Definitely excited to hear your thoughts. As always, be sure to hit the subscribe button there, hit the little notification bell to get notifications for when a new video is uploaded. You can catch written reviews for some of these ones that we don't do videos for on my website at reviewsfromabed.com. But that's it for this week. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for checking us out always. Thank you to Movie Tavern for letting us come in here and shoot the show and watch the movies. We'll be back next week, but until then, peace.